that are not married and they are doing this incredible.
Well, there's a variety of things. I think, first of all, we have to go back to the writer. You are very well known for your teaching skills. Your students speak a whole lot about you.
Miss Nigeria competition.
I said, let's pick them up. Let's take them back to Nigeria and let's teach them a different kind of job.
It's a lovely brand new year for all of us, and I am excited because I've seen this year and you're still with me on the program The Woman. My name is Elizabeth, and I always delightedly here to host you on the show. Today I have a personality, a lady who is going to be doing a lot of things, including putting it to us that we're going to have a beautiful year today. She is the first of a whole lot of things that will begin to unfold as time goes on. But for now, permit me as I welcome a woman who's made a difference in the legal department, not just in Nigeria, but in the international world. Permit me as I bring on board Barrister Boma Ayomide Alabi, Officer of the Order of Niger.
Indeed.
Okay, so nice to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, and a Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. It's always a blessing when we see another day, talk less of a brand new year.
Indeed.
And I know I mentioned earlier that you're going to put it to us that it's a brand new year and a year to receive a lot of blessing, a lot of hope. But before, when I heard that you were the first lady to be president of the Commonwealth Lawyers International, I was amazed and I kept Googling. I said, I must get this woman. Eventually, when I got linked up to you, I was excited. My day was made. How did you get to that?
Well, Commonwealth Lawyers Association is an association of lawyers and the institutions that represent lawyers from all 54 countries that practice the common law. So effectively the old British Empire. Now, I was practicing, I'm dual qualified. I'm qualified to practice law in England and Wales, as well as here in Nigeria, having qualified here first. So in the course of practicing that other jurisdiction, the opportunity came to do some work. And I think that's how women generally find themselves in positions of authority. We tend to volunteer, not thinking about the position as such. It was a time in our history when I began to get involved in the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, in the history of Nigeria when we're still under the military dictatorship, and therefore democracy and rule of law was something we didn't have in this jurisdiction. That's what got me involved with the Commonwealth Lawyers Association. In working with colleagues there, over time I was given more and more responsibility until one day I thought, I have some ideas as to how we can run this thing better. And the only way I can do this is to vie for the position of the president of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association.
You weren't scared? I mean, a woman had never really been there?
I actually didn't think of that. You see, in my profession and in my professional life, I never think of myself as a woman. I don't think in gender boxes at all. I just get on with it. So it was after the fact that I realized, this is the first time a woman's doing this. Yes.
That's interesting. A lot of times people get to stall you one way or the other. They don't do that. It's not for women. You may not think that, but the male folk within your career may want to, pull you back a little bit. Did you find that happening to you?
It happens. I have seen it. Yes, people say that to me over time. But there was something my late father used to say, you cannot control what other people do, but you can control your reaction. So if you choose to be put in a gender box, that's your reaction. And you may decide or think that this is not appropriate for a female or whatever. That's your problem, not mine. So you deal with it. And that's how I look at it.
I like that
Yes.
spirit, and I'm learning a whole lot. I mean, when people are saying, "No, you're a woman, you don't do this," and that's what I want to do. And very importantly, it's a positive action for the society. I go ahead and move ahead. Talking about positive actions for society, we're involved in electrical, committee or something for dispute resolution at a point here in Nigeria, and you did a tremendous job. Talk to us about it.
Well, that's NEC. There's a dispute resolution panel. It's an adjudicatory panel, and therefore not something one can go into any detail about. But it's the role of that, or what was envisaged is that panel would mediate between stakeholders in the event of any issues that needed to be resolved.
All right, taking you back a little bit, when I tried to get in contact with you, the lady who finally helped me link up, thank you, Dupe, kept saying, this woman, it's something else. I wonder why she chose law. And when you get to meet her, try to find out why did she choose law. And I'm wondering, did the law, legal, career, beckon on you, or did you just jump into it?
It was a combination of things. I come from a family where law has always been a prominent part, in the sense that uncles were lawyers. One in particular and I love all my uncles, but this one was a favorite. Children relate to an adult who can come down to their level. And this uncle used to come down to our level. He would come and put up, those old black and white films, Charlie Chaplin films. He would always have time to talk to you. And invariably, he's coming from court, so he's dressed like a lawyer. And that, for me, was one of the key things that decided I want to be like Uncle when I grow up. I want to do what he does.
What was his name?
Uncle Stanley Alagwa. He retired from the Supreme Court recently, so he went all the way to the Apex Court. He's practiced and then went into the judiciary and retired at the statutory retirement age. The other thing was I have a strong sense of justice and fair play. In the playground, throughout my life, wherever I see an injustice, I feel I have to right it somehow. And therefore, that also is aligned to this profession, where you have the opportunity to advocate for those who otherwise would be voiceless and ensure that justice is done.
Interesting. Now, in getting this job of yours, which was a dream, now turned reality for you, Dan, a lot of people say that women are somewhat sidelined. I am wondering, do we have fair play for women lawyers within the courts, within the legal office, within judiciary? To do their job as lawyers?
I don't think women in the legal profession are any worse off than women in any other profession. There's this society, this jurisdiction. Nigeria is a very patriarchal society, as a result of which women are naturally disadvantaged in that system because it's a man's world. And to that extent, women in the legal profession are no worse off than other women in the workplace. The rigors of practice, if you're in active practice, can be challenging to align with, the balancing home and work, depending on the stage of your life. If you have young children, for instance, again, naturally, in the order of society, women are the caregivers. You find that it's difficult to be traveling around the country at short notice, which is what is required. You're in court today in Ibadan, tomorrow you're in court in Sokoto, the next day you're in Kafanchan, and then you're in Port Harcourt. So you might find that one has to give, and you will take a different route to a point when you come back to it. So, but these are decisions that women in all walks of life have to make. And to that extent, it's not peculiar to the legal profession.
All right, you talked about balancing life. I'll get to find out how you manage yours, because yours is beyond just moving around Nigeria. I know you practice in the two worlds, the Western and of course ours. You will get to tell us how you balance that. But talking about women, I know you have several professional bodies made up of women, of which you are a member of one or two of them. I don't know what it's there, for you or for the common woman on the street, to get justice. If I am, in the court and I know that the women are up there for me, I want to believe that I'll feel elated. I'll feel, 50% already there. Are you doing something special for women, to help them gain justice?
Well, I think women's rights are human rights. Children's rights are human rights. And to that extent, wherever there is an infringement on a vulnerable person's human rights, be it a woman, a child, and sometimes men, we, my firm, and that's my collection of colleagues working together in my firm, have a pro bono budget to enable us actually take on these matters.
There's a Starling group.
We are now Premier Africa Legal
Oh,
PAL,
that's good.
following the merger with Wally Ways. So it's a pro bono budget. It means that we can take on these matters. We can cover the costs of filing, because there's costs attached to it even when you're not being paid. And we can ensure that justice is done. So, for instance, we have taken on death penalty cases where we clearly feel there's been a miscarriage of justice purely because those individuals are on that side of the fence where they call them the masses. They don't have the money to pay for good representation. And to affirm our judgment in thinking there is a miscarriage of justice looking at those cases, 8 out of 9 have been overturned, clearly showing that those individuals were, their cases were not as put forward as best they could have been. In addition to that, we help where women are dealing in domestic violence situations. Fortunately, we're practicing in Lagos and Abuja. Lagos is at the forefront of providing support for women in those situations. So there's the Office of the Public Defender, there's all sorts of intervention funded by the state, put into law by the state, and women are so much better protected as a result.
Okay, that's nice. I'm not saying I'm going to start committing crime, but I feel I should work a little bit more with my head high, knowing that somebody's looking out for me, really. Okay, now there's something that was trending, last year. Women being aggressive, sometimes getting physical with their husbands. And a lot of discussions, went around it. Men are beginning to look for protections for themselves, even against, from their spouse. I don't know. What's your take on that?
I think, obviously, domestic violence on either sex is totally wrong, unacceptable. No human being should have to suffer and live in those circumstances. If it's been meted out on the male husband or partner by the female, it's wrong. If it's from the man to the woman, it's wrong. And it should be zero tolerance. As we can see, and we've seen in some of those cases, you don't know where domestic violence will lead. Every domestic violence incident potentially could end in death. Potentially. So it has to be zero tolerance. Having said that, we in this society, in this jurisdiction, we tend not to take into cognizance the fact that mental health issues are real issues. You know, except someone is walking around stark naked on the street, we think everything is normal. It's normal to have mental health issues, actually.
It's normal.
It's normal to have...
I hear
Yes.
everybody has 5 minutes
Precisely.
in a day.
It's normal
I've been
to have
trying to spot
mental
my
health.
5 minutes. I don't know when it comes. Maybe when I'm sleeping.
Somebody can point it out to you who's observing you. And I think we have to reframe and just think about this differently. Mm-hmm. Because we are fine when we have physical health issues. At some point, somebody will have malaria or whatever. That's okay. But once it's mental health,
we shy away from it.
And we need to recognize that these are, they're small problems, big problems, and a whole variety, spectrum of mental health illnesses. Not all of which means that you're, going. I don't like that word, mad. But with treatment, who knows? So we need to look at that and see if that is not also a big factor in some of these issues that we have in our society.
Still sitting with me in the studio of The Woman is the former first female president of the Commonwealth Lawyers. In over 50 years, she emerged first. And we'll still be having a lovely chat with her. We'll return. The program is The Woman. Don't go away. You're welcome back. You're still The Woman, and we've been talking to you on the professional angle. And I keep wondering, this soft-spoken woman, but very focused, who's achieved so much, conquered so much, both in Nigeria and outside, she has a home, and she's run that home very well. What's life with you like at home?
Well, you've got to be true to yourself. And when you're true to yourself, your home will be a place of peace and a refuge from your day-to-day interactions.
I think I like that because after the madness outside, you actually need a refuge.
That's why it's called a home.
Yes.
So life at home for me is I'm a very private person, and my professional life is very separate from my personal life. My leisure activities, I try to select things that will keep you active, because you find that the sort of work we do is very sedentary. You're sitting in the courtroom, you're sitting in the office, you're sitting in meetings, you're sitting when you're traveling, in the car, in the aircraft, and so on. So I make conscious effort to ensure that my leisure activities are activities where I'm physically moving. So I sail,
Really?
Yes. Most Saturdays I'm out on the water sailing.
Oh my God.
Yes, and that's not something you need. It's not a motorboat thing. So you're actually moving around on the boat, and it's fairly active.
It is active, almost like
yes,
swimming, they say.
Precisely. Precisely.
Right.
And then I dance, and I also...
But somebody once told me that you actually have an aversion for Lagos Owambe.
I do. That's not the sort of dancing I'm talking about.
Okay. So what kind of dancing? And why do you have this aversion?
I have an aversion for not Lagos Owambe, but the way we socialize generally.
Okay.
We spend so much resources in these social activities, which are landmark activities, funerals, weddings, naming ceremonies, and people are buying clothes and uniforms, which you wear just the once. And for me, just from it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. And these young couple, you've spent all this money, they go off the next day and they have
a fight.
Barely nothing. Apart from a fight, they have nothing to start their lives with as such, because even the guests' presents and so on, in comparison to the expenditure, So it really doesn't make sense.
We could actually use the money to start
you
a
know,
life for them.
Years ago, I had a Jewish secretary. And I'm just telling you this story to give you a sense of why I have an aversion for this. This was in London, so she told me in passing, in conversation, that she owned her home, she and her husband, and she was only in her late 20s. So I said, how come? She said, well, in our community, we don't get presents. What they do is all the guests put whatever they want to eat, they monetize it. So we're given a wallet at the wedding, which is everything that uncles, aunties, friends, nobody, no compulsion, has put together.
They're not going to buy you Rolls Royce.
Precisely.
Okay.
So my wallet was £28,000. And that is what my husband and I used to put down as a deposit for our first home. And I think we need to move away from this culture and begin to think more about these sorts of sustainable cultural practices.
Sometimes you have a ceremony, somebody buys you a gift, and like I tell them, you go for child naming ceremony, you're buying Pampers, you're buying baby bath and stuff like that. Who told you for 9 months I didn't buy that?
Precisely.
You know, you're coming to keep property in my house.
Precisely.
I think really we should deviate from that, just like you said.
Yeah, I mean, the culture is dynamic. We should begin to look at, you know, in fact, you can see it's dynamic because the whole dressing in Ashobi was a Western Nigerian cultural thing. It's now across the country and beyond. And I think we need to apply more thought to what we do in our leisure time and how we spend our money.
What kind of dancing do you do? Still curious.
I do. It's structured dancing around exercise.
Okay.
So like Zumba, salsa, those sorts of things.
That's nice. Because they also say it helps you with your mental health. Okay, nice. Now, I want to know, when you're not working and doing all that, how do you relate with family and friends?
Well, for me, my family is the most important thing, and my family of friends. It's a small circle because it's a trust circle, and there's nothing I enjoy more than sitting with friends around the table and enjoying a meal together. That's a large part of family as well. My family, traditionally, I remember growing up, the laughter around the table, because my father we were quite a number of children. Nothing we enjoyed more than sitting around the table, eating, chatting, catching up.
With all the giggling.
Yes, absolutely.
It's fun.
Absolutely.
It's fun, really. Now, there are a lot of young people who probably have read about you and would like to be like you. Probably when I decide to do law, I definitely will look up to you as a role model. It won't drive me out anyway. Okay, so if I'm thinking about being a lawyer, going to law school, what should I hold, tenaciously to help me succeed? Talking about prerequisites.
Okay, now I say this to young lawyers all the time because they think, oh wow, you're up there. I don't think I'm up there, by the way. Whatever little achievement I might have so far, it's firstly the grace of God. Secondly, they say when life throws you lemons, make lemonade. So it's the attitude of what might not sometimes appear to be an opportunity, how you make use of it. So I would say to young people, stay focused. If you're in law school, if you're in the university, please focus on getting the best grades possible. That's number one, because that's all you can do. But also work on being a rounded person, because you need other skills. So what do I mean by work on that? Because you're not going to be in the workspace. It is how you relate with your community in your university, for instance. Get involved in civic activities, things that will promote the greater good. You will find that you gain skills from that if you're giving back to society. Leadership skills from organizing activities, and so on. So that's at that level. At law school, do the same. when you get into the workspace, focus on building. There's some key lawyering skills that every good lawyer must have. Okay. And that's advocacy skills, good communication skills, including writing. The tool of the lawyer is the written language. So you have to keep developing that. We talk about business development skills. They don't talk about that very much, but it's important. Mm-hmm. So you need to be able to, whether you're working in a firm or for yourself, business development skills. What else is necessary? Your ethical compass must be always pointed in the right direction. Okay. There is nothing worse than getting a bad name in this profession.
I think I heard the CJN when he was, addressing the last group of new weeks. I think that was in December. He told them a bit of this. I also remember he said something. I picked, closely. He said, "Don't wear a wig on a wig." And then that means
absolutely.
Don't wear on my own.
There you go.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful having you on the show. I must say, when you go back, safe trip, and have a blessed 2018.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been The Woman, and as you expected, we have learned a whole lot, especially for those of us who are practicing within the judiciary, or those who are gone in to get into it. Follow the rules, like she stated, and you make a successful career doing what you're doing. Thank you so much. See you more this year.
Well, there's a myriad of things. I think, first of all, we have to go back to
the writer. You are very well known for your teaching skills. Your students speak a whole lot about you.
Miss Nigeria competition.
I said, let's pick them up, let's take them back to Nigeria, and let's teach them a different kind of job.